Hi everyone. So last night I finally watched the season 2 finale of Supergirl, a show I despise, but I watched it because me and my daughter were hitting up all the season finales of everything. So we watched the season finale of Arrow, which is pretty good. Season finale of Flash, also pretty good, and season finale of Supergirl, which I absolutely loathe, but my 7-year-old daughter liked. So I've had a long history of hating Supergirl. I hated it from the first episode. The only ones I actually liked are the beginning of the season. I think they had 3 episodes with Superman, and they were really good. This Tyler Hoechlin is my favorite live action rendition of Superman ever. And we're talking about from the Clark Kent to the Superman to the costume, everything. My favorite out of the movies, out of the TV shows, everything. The only I liked her. I actually liked her in the Music Meister crossover episode with the Flash. Oh, by the way, I'm driving. I'm hoping that the road noise is not super annoying. But anyway, I liked the one with the Flash because they both lost their powers, and it just seemed like the writing was better, and she wasn't written as a basically a 25-year-old girl with a 5-year-old's brain. She kind of acted like a young, maybe like 18, but she acted smart, she acted savvy. They had like a good flirtation with her and Barry Allen. Those two have some pretty good chemistry. I hate this Supergirl show on multiple levels. Probably the biggest level I hate it on is that it's that they treat Supergirl, like I said, they write her as if she is a girl in her mind. Now, if you want to have her be 15 years old, and as we talked, with like Generation Z, I don't know, my son, I found him and his friends are very mature. I've gotten emails from kids in high school talking about, I'm forming a comics club, can you give me some advice? Man, they write like they're like 45-year-old copy editors. So there's a lot of mature 15-year-olds. There's also a lot of immature 15-year-olds. So you could write her as 15, call her Supergirl, and then have her be mature sometimes and immature other times, and it would totally work. Just have her be an intern at that Cat Grant Media whatever. Summer intern, and then maybe she gets she turns 16 and she gets some kind of after-school job. Whatever. But she's written, the funny thing is, originally I thought this character was supposed to be about 18, and then people who watch it, they said, no, she graduated from college, and it's been a couple years since college. She's like 25 years old. I go, oh, that's pathetic. Because I made fun of her clapping her hands and doing like yummy nummy ice cream, but she just basically always talks. She talks like a Disney, like she does not talk like an adult at all. Her emotions, her performance, the writing is all that of a child, and more specifically a young child. So it's very awkward. Season 1, they did this really cringy pseudo romance with James Olsen, who's like this 6'4", super smooth, like 30-year-old black dude. And they would have them like going on a date, and it literally sounded like a man on a date with a child. It was creepy as hell. And finally he was just like, yeah, I'm out. And then I've actually skipped most of the season. All I saw was the first 3, the crossover with all the CW shows, which she was actually not that bad in it. They still have to do this thing where she's always like bragging. She's like, ha 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 ha, I did better than you. And you're like, hey, yeah, we're trying to keep people from dying in an explosion. Maybe not brag. Yeah, so the first 3 where they had Superman were pretty good because they got into the whole thing about how she feels inferior to Superman. And she should, because she sucks. So the backstory on the mythology or in this book is that on Krypton, she was like 10 years older than Superman. She was sent to Earth to watch over him, but her pod got, I don't know, into a tesseract or something like that. And then she actually ended up getting there 10 years after him. To which, like a complete moron, she said, oh, there's one Superman. The world can't possibly need another superhero. Therefore, I will be a klutzy idiot dope with the mind of a 5-year-old interning at a media company. And then, like, they slowly had to blow her mind by, like, what if, now just go with me here. What if you also helped? And it took her like a whole season to like wrap her mind about that, you know, riddle of the Sphinx right there. And then at the beginning one, she was basically saying, oh, you know, everyone likes Superman, and you know, I'm new, I'm not as good, and you know, even though technically I was born before him, if you want to be technical, he's like 10 years older than me. So then they kind of set it up where she proved herself, and it was good, it was solid. And then they had to get rid of that Superman because if you have him in every episode and you write him well, like, nobody will want to watch what do you call it, Supergirl. She was just embarrassing. So what they did is they get rid of him. They basically turned the entire season over. From what I've heard from people and the little peeks I've gotten to, they made the big plot of the whole season 2 her sister, who's like 38 years old, coming out of the not just coming out of the closet, but discovering she was gay. She was like, oh, I'm 38. I just noticed that I've been attracted to women my whole life. And I think they even had her like dating guys in the first one, or at least like kind of being interested in them. But it was a very old-fashioned story. These coming out stories were very, very popular they were a big deal in the 80s and the 90s, and even like the early part of the millennium. But a 2016, 2017 coming out story of a middle-aged woman it's just dumb, and it's a huge waste of time. And it was just them virtue signaling, like, hashtag we're so brave. Yeah, like, there's like, I don't know, like 5 gay characters in Arrow. So, and these are like leads and multiple leads. And then the gay characters from Arrow will go be leads in other shows. Like, there's been a lot of gay characters in the CW superhero universe. So it was really weird that they did this. And they didn't just have a coming out episode. They had multiple coming out episodes. Hashtag plot twist. Yeah, everyone accepted her because it's 2017. She's like, I'm so nervous to tell you that I'm gay. And then she tells her family, and then she tells her friends, and then she tells her coworkers. It was like stretched over. And then the romance, there was like no romance to it. It's like, hi gay, I'm a gay. Oh, I'm also a gay. I guess we're kind of married now. No stakes, no drama, no will they, won't they, nothing, no twists. Just, hi, like I said, the magnet effect. 2 lesbians get within 10 feet of each other. They are instantly in love and in a relationship. With absolutely no domestic violence, because that never ever happens. So then they gave her this, even though it was kind of cringy that, like I said, she acts like a girl and James Olsen acts, you know, like a man. So they gave him her this new love interest, which was even worse. I actually forget his name. I was just calling him Fop L. Because he's basically the most cliche, femi, worthless millennial ever. He actually says this in the season finale. So there's an invasion by the Daxamites, who are kind of like Kryptonians. And this is how he describes the Daxamites. By the way, he's fighting for Earth. He goes, I'm just like them, except like less killy. Less killy. This is like embarrassing Joss Whedon-esque dialogue that really went out of style in about 15 years ago. I mean, it kind of limped on in like some of the last seasons of Angel and some of the, you know, Smallville, but I'm just like them except for like less killy. And then they even supposedly someone was saying that he made a hint that like everyone in his species was bi, and it was just kind of like, Okay, so then, so getting into this episode, it starts off with Supergirl fighting Superman, and Superman's been ensorcelled by silver kryptonite by Teri Hatcher, who's like the queen of the Daxamites. So we get into a fight, but like I mentioned in an earlier video, it's a really ugly, brutal fight with a lot of like full body, full strength punches right to her face. And I really didn't like watching. I don't think most people like women being beat up or punched, especially in such a brutal way. And then, so Superman is ensorcelled. He thinks that she's Zod. She knows that he's Kal, and she also knows that he's impaired. So she ends up like kind of viciously beating him until he's unconscious. And then she has like this romance dream with her bi roommate, boyfriend, whatever Fop L is. But then they wake up and she's like, oh, I'm in the forces of solitude. And then her sister's there. And then she's like, how do we get here? And then her sister goes, you flew us both here and then passed out. That is some bad writing right there. So anyway, there's a Daxamite invasion, and then they do this really cringy thing where, you know, Superman, the silver kryptonite's worn off, and Superman's like, you beat me, and he's like weirdly into it. He's like, you beat me, you're a better fighter than me. And then she's like, no, you were ensorcelled by silver kryptonite. He goes, yeah, but I was at full strength. That means you beat me fair and square, and that means you're the champion of Earth. And it's like, okay, this is embarrassing. He's literally just losing his own personality to kind of pump up Supergirl, where they had done some really good stories earlier where they had shown that she felt inferior to him. He was very kind to her. He's like, you're not inferior to me. So then they don't have to say that she's just simply not inferior to them, but they have to say she's straight up better than him. Are you sure about that? John Cena says. So let's examine this. Superman was addled by silver kryptonite. He was literally hallucinating during this fight. He was fighting someone he thought to be his peer, but he wasn't fighting them correctly. He was fighting Zod as if Zod was fighting as Zod, but he was actually fighting Kara. So it's literally, every fighter has a different style. He's literally using the wrong fight style to fight Zod, who is really Kara. Kara knows that Kal is Kal. She knows he's ensorcelled and figures out that he is hallucinating. So she is not only at full strength and knows she's fighting someone that's stronger, but she also she's not addled. So she's at her full mental strength and her full physical strength, and accurately fighting the actual fighting ability of her opponent. So it makes no sense to say that this was, I think at best you could say, hey, when I'm hallucinating, you can't beat me up. But it in no way establishes that she's better than Superman, and it doesn't make sense that she's Earth's hero. So they go through some shenanigans, and there's like the Daxamites have a thing where you can basically call a leader out to battle, and then the duel settles the armies. So the armies don't have to fight, but whoever loses, the other person gets control of the planet. Horrible, egotistical idea on Supergirls. Supergirls is still a very young hero. She's only been a superhero for 1 year. Even though it's Teri Hatcher and she's like 50, in the story, they make it that she's a very, very powerful fighter. It makes no sense to say, anyone who actually cared, anyone who was actually a superhero would say, hey, Clark, take this. I know I beat you when you were hallucinating, but you've got 10 years of superhero experience, and literally the life of the whole planet, or at least the freedom of the whole planet, relies on this. Or you just don't issue the challenge and you say, all of us superheroes are going to team up against all the Daxamites, and we're going to try to fight for having an immature, very new superhero decide the fate of, and then so it becomes clear that Supergirl, just like, you know, Kamala Khan and Squirrel Girl, is not motivated by altruism. She's motivated by ego. And this is a commonality with SJW heroes. So then we get like the worst, cringiest fight ever between, you know, Pretty Fit, the actress who plays Kara, but still she's a very new hero, against Teri Hatcher, who is 50, probably weighs about 95 pounds, and has so much Botox in her face that you have to hit her with jumper cables just to get her to blink. So then they fight like men fight. It's body blows, it's punches, it's kicks, and it doesn't make any sense. So just to superhero Kryptonite, you know, Kryptonian Daxamite superpowers do not require you to fight with fists. There are so much more you can do. You got all that super speed, you got the super breath, you got super senses. My daughter, whenever she pretends to be Supergirl, she does the heat vision. That's the power that to her is very appealing and interesting and fun. So they've got the heat vision. You know, they had them fight like men, and it just looks really awkward and weird. And then basically Supergirl is losing, and then her backup plan was to use poison gas to kill or maim every Daxamite on Earth. And then when she does that, by the way, this basically almost kills her pseudo-boyfriend, who has to leave. And then afterwards, I forget the exact quote, I put it in my Twitter, but Superman, like a complete cuck. Oh, by the way, she, like in all duels, she was allowed to have a second, and Superman actually opted out of being her second. He points at Fop L and he goes, "Oh yeah, you're good to be a second. You know me, I'm just dopey old Superman." And then his only contribution at the end was he was basically emergency relief. He was like a FEMA worker. It was just him and Martian Manhunter, like in an alley, helping people dodge like falling debris. So anyway, after Supergirl loses a duel and then cheats by breaking the law of land warfare and using poison gas against enemies, Superman goes, basically he goes, "You're stronger than me, and you're stronger than I will ever be." So emotional validation that makes no sense, easily disprovable. Superman could have taken Teri Hatcher. He could have also figured out something smarter than using German army tactics from World War I, poison gas. Then we get, oh, so I forgot about this thing that was even more cringy. So right before the big fight, Kara has heart to heart with Cat Grant, and then she goes, "I'm just on the cusp of having everything. A job I love, I'm in a relationship, and I'm world's greatest hero. But I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. Can everything really go right for me?" By the way, she is literally staring the enslavement or eradication of the entire human race in the face against a superior enemy, and all she can do is reiterate talking points from a Ms. Magazine article in 1981. Pathetic, unheroic, egotistical, pretty much sociopath. So after she wins everything, she goes back again to Cat Grant, who gives her like 2 minutes of emotional validation before she's like, "I've got to go," and then she's like, she flies away, and Cat Grant's like, "Bye, Supergirl." My daughter liked it. She did tend to zone out during some parts. She just likes a girl hero. I have been a little bit wrong in the representation thing. She liked Rogue One, and at the end she said she wished there would have been more girl characters in it. So there are aspects of the representation argument that are legitimate. I think Supergirl should clearly be billed as a kids show, and stop with the, God, man, there was a couple things there were a couple of like adult references there that were really awkward. Basically like hooking up and getting your rocks off type of stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, she's like, Cat Grant's like Cat Grant is like just like gushing like Niagara Falls over Clark. And then she's like, man, I bet when he gets his glasses off, he's a tiger in bed. I was like, it was really awkward watching that next to my daughter. But anyway, tell me what you think about Supergirl. I just think it should flat out be rebuilt as a kid show, and they should make it a 100% kids show. But tell me what you think about the show. Tell me what you think about them turning Superman into Super Cuck. I'm running up on my time limit on my phone. I'm traveling up to Manhattan, so I'm hoping to stop at some comic stores and find Mr. Miracle. Thanks for watching. Bye.